Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 39 of Shattered Image, and this one is titled The Quirk. You didn't seem hostile, but you were definitely gatekeeping your room, and he glanced in past you and saw the folder on the bed. Can I come in for a second? It's important. He added, Okay. You asked suspiciously as you opened the door for him, and he walked in and sat down on the chair at your desk. You weren't sure what the go was, so you just walked over and stood there in the middle of your room, looking at him, and he cleared his throat as he sat there. Listen, he said, I know we don't talk about our quirk, but I had a visit from Hawks. Hawks? As in the Hawks? What happened? Why did he visit you? You asked with surprise. It was in relation to your case. He was finding out things about our family background. Your dad said, Yeah, I already know some stuff, and this folder here is full of everything I want to know about our quirk, how it works, family members with their names, etc. You don't need to tell me anything. I'm about to find it all out here, you said pointedly. You were a little salty at him still, and you also wanted to rub it in that although he had tried to keep information from you all these years, you were still going to find it out anyway. So we're proud to tell him that you didn't need him anymore. He couldn't stop you from finding out anymore. Your dad paled and hung his head. Can I please tell my story? He asked, and he seemed so vulnerable that it struck you, so you just said yes out of pure curiosity. When I was 3, your dad started. I was playing with my blocks in the lounge room, and my mother, your grandmother, came in and tied me up with a fishing wire, and then beat me with my baseball bat. You stood there motionless. This wasn't what you were expecting to hear. Way to casually trauma dump, Dad. You blinked at him. This was the first time, of many, that I became the victim of abuse for no reason other than it being because of a quirk. When I was 18, I ran away from home, and I changed my name. Partly because I had done some things as a younger teen that would have landed me in jail had I been caught, but mostly because I recognised that if I didn't get out and didn't stop using my quirk, I would end up going mad like everyone else in the family that had this quirk. My side of the family has a madness that runs deep, and it ends up taking their lives. I don't want to go into detail about any of it because it's confronting, and I don't want to talk about it. But I need you to know that the reason I didn't want to talk about it wasn't because I didn't care. I was trying to protect you from this, but I failed, and now I see that I should have talked to you about it. He hung his head and rubbed his hands through his hair, obviously trying to keep his emotions in check. I'm sorry. I just need to tell you that, and hope you understand, he said as he got up and quickly left and then closed the door behind him. You stood there, reeling. What the heck? After thinking for a second, you turned to the folder on the bed and slowly walked over to it. You felt numb now. You didn't know how you were supposed to process that. Opening the first page of the folder, you saw the rundown for your quirk. It was classed as an intrusive quirk, specifically mental, meaning that you gained control of another person's mind, and then the subclass was paralysis. Not a physical paralysis per se, but a paralysis due to your control over one's mind and making them think that they were in a mirror maze. Due to the distortions of one's perceptions of themselves and their space around them, being in this type of mental paralysis had been proven detrimental to those under the influence. It had been estimated that anything longer than 5 minutes could cause significant psychological harm. Depending on the mental fortitude of the person this quirk was enacted upon, the time it was suggested that it could be maybe shorter or longer, depending. You kept reading, fascinated to know the inner workings of your quirk. According to all the statistics, your quirk was considered quite a powerful one, considering that the second that you looked into someone's eyes and activated, you had them and they couldn't break out unless they had a counter quirk or had the mental fortitude and stamina to overcome the mental hurdle of understanding that this was a quirk, and thus, if they stepped out of their own mind and acted in their subconscious, technically they could escape, but there had been no accounts of this ever occurring. One thing that you did note was that this quirk acted through the connection of both eyes, and there had only been 2 accounts where this quirk didn't work. One, the person was legally blind and thus could not see, and second was someone who had a glass eye, and this quirk did not work when activated on them, leading the conclusion to be that with this quirk you had to have both eyes activated to work, hypothesizing that if someone closed an eye, this quirk could possibly not work on them. Interesting, you thought, moving on down the page to the drawback section. It had been well documented that this quirk carried with it a lot of mental load, and it had been found that over time and with use of this quirk, it would chelate certain neurotransmitters in the brain and cause atrophy of neuroreceptors in particular parts of the brain that were used for the regulation of impulse planning, moral reasoning, and processing emotions. Areas such as the prefrontal cortex, amygdala, and hippocampus. Your eyes scanned over the brain areas and what their roles were and settled on a line at the bottom of the page that read, "In conclusion, it has been noted that 100% of persons with this quirk are diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder by the age of 20. You sat there staring at the line, the words almost seeming to levitate off the page at you. You had just been gifted too much information in one go, and you didn't know what to do with it all, and so just sat there numbly. After sitting there for a lengthy amount of time, you then flipped the page over, your eyes settling on a face of someone you didn't know, the name of the person very unknown to you, but the quirk being the same as yours, and it looked like it was a rap sheet, a list of offences written under this person's name. Stabbings, murders, aggravated quirk assaults, amongst other offences, all sounded way too familiar, but then at the bottom of the page it caught your eye, the word deceased. You flipped to the next page. Another foreign face, another foreign name, but same quirk. Their rap sheet not too dissimilar to the person on the page beforehand. And again at the bottom of the page it read, deceased. 4 more pages you flipped through, all 4 of them people you had never met, but all with similar charges and the same quirk and all with the same ending, deceased. What is going on here? You thought, when you flipped to the next page, the person's face looking familiar, but the name not, and then you squinted at the person before realising who it was. Dad? You thought with surprise. Oh, was this his name before he changed it? Are these all relatives of my father? You read down his listings. He didn't have as many charges against him, but it appeared that he had stabbed someone and had stolen a car. But thankfully at the bottom of his page it did not have deceased. You swallowed as best you could and pressed on, flicking through the next few pages but only looking at the bottom this time, seeing the word deceased over and over until it came to one more name of a woman who had a massive rap sheet and a warrant out for her arrest, and it appeared that she was still very much at large and the police were after her. Obviously not medicated, you thought when you saw what she had been up to, and she appeared to be extremely unhinged. It even stated that she was highly volatile and should not be approached without the appropriate backup, and after reading her sheet you closed the folder. I don't know what to do now, you thought. I don't want to be a caged animal though, but I know who I can trust to talk this out with, and I have his stupid number in my phone too, you thought, smiling as you pulled your phone from your pocket. Well, there you go, folks. That was an information dump with a lot of big words. So if you need to listen to this chapter a few times over to understand how Yin's quirk works, pay attention to a few different things in there, because there might be some foreshadowing. There might be some information in that one chapter that might pop up later as helpful or connective to the story. But I will see you. That ends this week. I'm sorry. I'll see you next week for more Heard You Like Me and more Shattered Image. See you then.